Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As might have been noted, I'm particularly concerned about lithium batteries on aircraft. This is the one that I spoke of, where the pilots, attempted to make an emergency landing, but were overcome by smoke, and that's the result. Luckily, they didn't crash into a heavily populated area and kill hundreds of people on the ground. As the manufacturers have said, the planes are incapable of withstanding the fire, and there are no current suppression systems that work in the hold of an aircraft. Now, that particular aircraft was a 747 cargo. So Mr. Rankin, I'm puzzled. I would say, Administrator Dominguez at PHMSA was probably the first good administrator in my recent experience, and it seemed to me she was trying to clean up a really incredibly dysfunctional agency and actually implement and put forward rules from things that Congress ordered 6 years ago. That's a big progress down at PHMSA. But in your testimony, you think we should take this dysfunctional agency that currently doesn't have a head, and we should put them on the ICAO board, which relates to aircraft and hazardous materials transport on aircraft, as opposed to the FAA, who are experts in aviation and aware of the fact that when you're flying at 40,000 feet and a fire that cannot be repressed is really a really bad thing. So why do you think that PHMSA can do a better job than the FAA?
I appreciate the question, and I appreciate your your concerns, Congressman DeFazio. The statement that we made in our testimony, in which, of course, we stand by, is that PHMSA, in fact, should be the lead in this and also have the seat at ICAO. The reasons for this are several. First, PHMSA is the recognized competent authority or lead agency for hazardous materials transportation globally. So in any respect, when any foreign government, for example, is interested in a movement into or out of the United States that deals with hazardous materials of any kind, PHMSA is the agency to which they go for expertise. And of course, as you know, an individual from PHMSA, Mr. Dwayne Funds, currently chairs the UN Subcommittee of Experts on the Transport of Dangerous Goods and is recognized as one of the leading authorities in hazmat transportation globally. Secondly, the air movements of hazardous materials are, generally speaking, multimodal in nature. That usually involves transport to an airport, loading on a plane, transport by air, unloading.
Okay, I don't even play. I've only got 2 minutes left, so I will. But okay, you've given a couple of reasons. That's good. But I've got to say I still disagree, and I'm hopeful that in the next FAA reauthorization we can correct this discrepancy. Just because it's something that's going the hold of an airplane is designated hazardous, that we give this dysfunctional bureaucracy the authority to be our lead at the International Civil Aviation Authority, about which they know nothing, on these matters. So in any case, thanks, but we do disagree on that. Just a question, one other question. Do you support, or does your association support, the promulgation of the rule that would just make us internationally consistent with ICAO? Because elsewhere in your testimony you're talking about the need for international consistency.
In my capacity here today representing the interested parties, the organization has not taken a specific position on this. I'd be happy to determine that with the group and get back to you in written form.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nober, your railroad has invested a tremendous amount of money in PTC, despite the fact that you had concerns about implementing nationwide PTC. A number of the other freight railroads have invested substantially, but they're not as far along as you are. Our commuter railroads, particularly New Jersey Transit and others, have been absolutely non-responsive. They're pushing hard for a rollback. Would your railroad support a rollback saying, oh, just forget about it, we're not going to go operational, you don't need PTC?
Well, at BNSF, we are planning on having all of our physical assets in the ground and our system up and running by the end of 2018. We're taking advantage of some of the provisions in the FAST Act to allow, or that you all passed, to allow us to have testing and operation go on and work out bugs beyond that. So at our railroad, we are planning on meeting the deadline and going forward. And obviously, we're at the point in our implementation where bugs are almost on a one-off basis, right? We sit down, we go through every month, we look at kind of a very rigorous process of each train start, and then if PTC worked, did it work properly the whole way through? If it failed, where in the sequence of events did it fail? And then sometimes ferreting out where in the system of systems the bug was. So I can speak for us that we believe in going forward. I know that the passenger railroads and others have had resource issues, and you know, I can offer for ourselves that we will meet the deadline and we are prepared to go forward.
Okay, so you feel confident, despite the ongoing, you know, programming and other issues, that it will be a functional system ultimately?
We believe so, but there are still some big challenges to go. For example, we're just now beginning interoperability, and we and UP, for example, have exchanged some locomotives and are just beginning that process. And for all of the, so if you take just within BNSF, the various systems that have to go together, if now we have to do the same kind of process with another railroad, it's going to be a very manual and labor-intensive process to work out all these bugs. We believe that we will. We believe that it will work properly, but again, if we're at 85% effective or somewhere to that effect now where we are in BNSF, that still means we run 1,500 trains a day. So 15% of those is a significant number of trains that are having issues, and so those are a lot of the colloquial, the scientific term, bugs to work out. But we will get there.
Okay.
We're confident that we will.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.